Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you are listening to us on this episode of Leadership Bites. It's great to have you here. So I am speaking to Patricia White, who is the CEO of Birmingham-based charity Suited for Success. Patricia is somebody who believes in helping unemployed men and women with interview skills and a suitable interview outfit that will give them the confidence they need to make that positive first impression and get a job that will basically change their life. And I was really excited to have her on the podcast. I actually live in the Birmingham area, and because of my background, when my father was a bespoke tailor, I was really fascinated by the work that she does. It got my attention. I've started to do some work with her, and I really wanted to do my bit in terms of promoting the charity itself. Patricia herself is a very impactful person. She has an absolute belief in doing the right thing to enable people to take those steps forward to their own personal integrity and the next steps in their life to reclaim control of who it is and what they're about. She really understands this. She has this idea that says, it's basically more than a suit. The work that she does with ex-forces, ex-offenders, back-to-work mums and the homeless really sets a standard for enabling people to redefine their own validity and to have help and that support mechanism around their ability to reclaim their place, not just in society, but to take control of their own life. Let's hear from Patricia, and I think you're going to find this a really interesting podcast. Welcome to Leadership Bites with your host Guy Bloom, a leadership podcast, conversations, just me talking and occasional interviews. Check us out at livingbrave.com, and when you enjoy the episode, subscribe and tell everyone. So Patricia, fantastic to have you with me today. I've done a little introduction just as a lead-in, but I think I'd really like to just hear in your own words, what is Suited for Success? Just as a summary, because we'll talk about it in depth afterwards, and then just the stepping stones that took you to be the CEO of this great charity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Guy, for the invitation. It's great to be with you today. Suited for Success, as you know, I'm the Chief Exec, and we're a Birmingham-based charity. We're still quite young. We're still babies. We've only been going for just over 3 years. And Suited for Success is a really simple concept. We're in the business of changing lives, helping to impact unemployment. And then the way we do that is providing free interview clothing and interview preparation skills for people to give a great first impression at a job interview. In a nutshell, that's what Suited for Success is. In terms of how I got to be the Chief Exec, I've always had a passion for communities, making a difference, changing lives. And previous, I ran Trestle Trust Food Bank. I ran one of the first Trestle Trust food banks in the city called Birmingham Central Food Bank. I ran that for 5 years. And while running the food bank and doing various other community projects across Birmingham, across the city, working with various charities, community organisations, and looking at the various issues across the city and the various challenges that people have on the edges of society in communities right across our city and across the UK, I started to really look at, while running the food bank, is that, well, if people can't afford to put food on the table, how on earth are they going to afford to be able to buy an interview outfit to make themselves presentable, to make that first impressions count in a job interview? So that's how the idea of Suited for Success started, really. It started around me supporting people with emergency food to thinking, well, actually, the root of the reason why you can't put food on the table is because of unemployment, and why you're unemployed is because you can't get through job interviews, have a great CV, a great application, and actually just put yourself forward as the best candidate for that particular role. So that's what Suited for Success is all about. I've been in the space of charity for the last, I'd say 10, 12 years. And before that, I was a journalist at the BBC. I was in journalism for 10 years, where I had the pleasure and the opportunity to travel across the world with the BBC, World Service, and various aspects of the BBC as a journalist. My love for people and communities really stemmed from being a journalist and being out and about and getting great human interest stories and just seeing the challenges and the topics and the headlines that we see in everyday news. And that's where my passion and compassion really grew for people and to support and help people.
Do you know, I have to say, because when I first saw Suited for Success, I think it was on LinkedIn, I saw one of your posts and it just pulled me in straight away. So as you know, my father used to be a bespoke tailor, and I live in the Birmingham Birmingham area. So by definition, I felt this natural, wow, a little bit of an affinity. And then when I met you and I saw the setup, it was quite, what I was going to say, it kind of hooked me in straight away. It's such a, on the surface, it's such a simple idea. Enable people to look their best so they can have a successful job interview, and then that could be the starting point of something amazing for them. So easy to say, put clothes on people, give them some help with interview, go. How hard could it be? But actually, what I did very quickly realise was the level of dedication of the team, the overall professionalism of the processes that were being adhered to. And I think that really told me that this is something that is really set up for a long-term impact.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm also interested in is, I mean, I can see the stepping stones of how you moved forward to end up in that role. And that seems really obvious, almost that you'd end up doing something like this. It's the hand in the glove. It's the right one for you. What were the stepping stones to the idea of it, to it being what I see as a very slick, professional, high-end operation? How did it go from you going, do you know what I'm going to do, through to where you are now?
I mean, every time I tell this story, people think, oh my gosh, it was meant to be. Because when I managed the Trussell Trust Food Bank, and Trussell Trust do an amazing job in the UK around food poverty and the food banks that they run. So I would think, like I'd mentioned, if you can't afford to put food on the table, how are you going to afford an interview suit? And a lot, when it comes to food banks, a lot of donations, a lot of support comes through businesses, business professionals, offices that do food drives in their offices where the people come to work and donate a tin of beans or, a tin of corned beef or tin of tuna. So I thought, well, if people are donating food items, wouldn't it be fantastic to ask people to donate clothing items as well? So people in offices, they wear suits and smart clothing every day. So could we ask them to donate clothing items as well as food items? So within the same time of me thinking about that particular concept, I had a phone call and an email from a group of young professionals that worked in various corporate businesses and law firms and banks in the city that said, we've come up with this idea of Suited for Success, where we would like our colleagues to donate workwear so that you can support people that come to your food bank to prepare for job interviews. Oh, well, Guy, I couldn't believe it, because it's almost as if I kind of put the idea out there, to the universe, and then the universe goes, okay, there's a response. Here you go. Here's everything.
It's so very Celestine prophecy, isn't it?
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. So that's how it all started. So it's Suited for Success has always been a platform for the corporate and the business sector to work together with the third sector to come together to impact on employment. And that's how it all started. And so the level of excellence and the service that we give to our clients has all stemmed from that relationship, 6-7 years ago, which still continues to this day. So we still very much work with the corporate and business sector in order to run Suited for Success. And we couldn't do what we do without that support. And that's how it all came together, Guy.
Wow. When you say something like that, it's one of those universe-giving moments, isn't it? Like we see in a movie and they say, nothing else could top this, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And that kind of access then into organisations to say almost, can we have your suit? Was that facilitated by the people that initially had that first port of call to you, or was that you just saying on LinkedIn, I'd like to come and speak to you? How do you do those stepping stones? Because having come to the site, it's amazing. There's racks of high-quality clothing that anybody be proud to put on. How did you start to fill the racks?
When the young group of young professionals approached me with the idea of Suited for Success, we did a pilot. So the Suited for Success originally was a 6-month CSR project with businesses and us working together, collecting a few suits, putting people into employment. And the pilot was more or less about, let's create a space where people can donate suits. It was a bit of a suit drive, a bit of a campaign, and that's how Suited for Success was launched as a pilot project. And then it's just all stemmed from there, really. And the fact that it's a win-win for businesses, that everybody wears smart workwear and suits in the office, and this is a great initiative to be able to give that workwear to that we no longer wear. It's all clogging up our wardrobes and closets. So if we donate our smart workwear, we then also help to solve the issue of unemployment, and we can go out and get new suits and new clothes. So it was a win-win. So that kind of concept And that process has stayed with us. And we don't have to actually go out and ask for donations. We have to, at the moment, we've actually paused donations because we have so many donations. And we're talking about fantastic quality suits. Sometimes we look at donations and we think, how has somebody donated this suit?
Yeah, my father being a tailor, I mean, he was a bespoke tailor, made suits. And I walked in and I walked down the rack and went, oh my God, these are better than the ones I got in my wardrobe.
Yeah,
I mean, so yes, it was incredible. And it was a lovely, and that was lovely to see that what was really happening was quality of it was part of the process. Because I think when you put a suit on, even if you're not an expert on what it is, the quality of the thing makes a difference to the way that you are, especially if you're not used to holding one and wearing one. The fit of it makes that difference.
Absolutely. I mean, we get clients that say, you know, when we put suits on them, we've had clients in tears, and they'll say, I've worn suits before, but I've never looked like this in a suit, or I've never had this sort of quality of suit. And like you say, it makes that person feel valued, it makes them feel special, it makes them feel part of society with something as simple as a suit. And that's what's powerful about it. It really is. And one of our hashtags is that we're more than just a suit, and we live by that.
Yes, I love that. I almost want to talk about that little bit of touch point I've had with you as my experience, but actually that would be me talking about what you do. So who is going to be approaching you for a suit? And when we say suit, we mean male and female, to make that obvious statement. Somebody approaches you, what's the relative criteria to come to your services? What would they expect as an experience? What are the stepping stones that somebody might go to then walk out the door ready for that interview they've got this afternoon?
Absolutely. I mean, we serve anybody who is unemployed, whether they lost their job a week ago or they've not worked for 10 years or so. So anybody who's unemployed fits the criteria of being able to come to Suited for Success and get support from us. We work with frontline agencies, job centres, homeless hostels, women's refuges, children's centres, to support those frontline agencies who are supporting people to get into work. But they may also be supporting people for other challenges that are happening in their life around addiction, just coming out of prison, etc., etc. So people get referred to us once they have a guaranteed job interview, and then they think, oh, well, what am I going to wear to that interview? I've got nothing in my wardrobe to wear. Now, where Suited for Success steps in is that we think, don't not go for that interview, or go to that interview in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt hoping you can explain why you're in casual wear and hopefully you'll get the job. But let us prepare you for that job. Let us make you look the part for that job. So that hurdle is jumped over, and then all you've got to think about and focus on is actually answering the interview questions and giving that great first impression. We will support anybody who's unemployed to support them into work.
Walk me through the process of when somebody knocks on that door, presses that buzzer, they're greeted at the door, and just almost that process. Because I imagine for some people, well, I know, having been in there, coming with different levels of confidences, some people have an inherent confidence and others are at a place in their life maybe where they're not.
Our premises, our centre looks like a department store. So people think that they could just walk in off the street. A lot of people think we're just a shop, but we say, no, you have to be referred for us to provide support for you. So people are referred, they come to our centre based in Hockley in the centre of Birmingham. And then when they come to the door, we can invite them in. But it's almost like the clients are like rabbits and headlights, because when they're invited in, we treat them special, we value them. We say we want to support you to be successful in your job interview. Everything from the welcome, offering cups of tea or coffee, sitting down, here's a magazine, have a read of a magazine. Let's talk about you. Who are you? Where have you come from? Why are you unemployed? How can we support you today? And it's a one-to-one appointment. So it's, even though we look like a shop and it feels like a shop, we say to people, this isn't a shop. You just don't go round the rails and pick what you want. It's a bespoke service. So once we've had a little chat with them about them and about them preparing for their job interview, so we do some coaching with them. We talk about the sort of interview that they're going for, everything down to what time's your interview, how are you going to get there, where is your interview. And you'll be so surprised that clients haven't even thought that far ahead. They've just thought about, well, let's just get the clothing and I'll be fine. Well, then we know, how are you going to get there? How are you preparing yourself for the interview? And then once we've gone through that, that's an hour. The whole appointment is 2 hours or just over 2 hours. And then they have a personal stylist that will then dress them for the interview that they're going for. And we go as far as doing colour analysis with people, fitting suits and clothing to their style and then their personality, their likes, their dislikes. So it's not just a case of, well, here you go, I think this is the right size suit for you. There it is in a bag and off you go. It's that one-to-one personal styling and personal service that we do offer people.
I think that's the bit that I found really important, that it wasn't just come and get a suit.
Yeah.
It was that sense of care and customization, for the want of a better word, because the guys and girls that are in there really understand. They're from local businesses as well, and some of the, I'm not just going to say people, I'm going to say characters, because they have real character and are great characters, and they're experts in their field. They really are. They're in the trade. They're able to look at somebody and know the size of the individual, which is always impressive, and to know this is going to look right on you. I think that's also part of the process, that you're looking at another adult that is looking at you with expertise, and you may not know, you may be slightly worried about it, worn a suit in 20 years or my whole life, or I have, but I've never really felt comfortable in them. But somebody else who you can trust going, no, trust me, you look really good in this. And that's quite palpable, I think, and quite powerful.
It is, absolutely. And people, the feedback that we've had from people is that I've never been treated like this before. I've never been spoken like this before. The way that, we polish people's shoes, we get down on our knees, we polish shoes, we do ties, we talk about grooming and all sorts. And it really does touch people. It really does throw people that how much we care about them as human beings. And as people, where they've probably come from backgrounds and experiences where that hasn't happened for them. And then also in terms of our volunteer team, we come from various different backgrounds, whether there be a background in retail, in styling. I mean, we have gentlemen that have worked in men's retail for many years, and are able to dress people because that's what they've done for a living. But also in terms of our volunteers that support people with interview skills and techniques, we've got business owners, we've got business managers, HR consultants. We work with a variety of different businesses that send their staff on corporate volunteer days that come with a wealth of knowledge and experience that is just so valuable that you just couldn't put a price on it. And then this is then working with people that have never had this sort of knowledge and experience before. But they'll appreciate that to be able to move them forward in their lives.
Yes, and I think that's something that is really tangible, the expertise and not just the expertise, but the fact that anybody I've seen in that brief touch point I've had with you had a genuine desire to be there and add value. On a personal note, one of the things I noted, and I've only, as I say, very lightly touched your organisation, you were very graciously got me in to do just one little session of doing some interview techniques with some of the clients. And I even like the fact that they're clients, right? Just has something about it. What really struck me at quite a human level, the word suspicion jumped into my head, and that's not what I meant, but I think some people are maybe suspicious of that process. Sometimes almost, can't I just have the suit, right?
Yeah.
And some of them instinctively want some help, but some of them are, am I going to be trained? Am I going to be preached to? Oh God, have I got to sit here and just go through this? And then very, very quickly, because the person genuinely listens and cares, they very quickly shift to almost that sense of appreciation of, oh, you're not just quickly trying to ask some open questions. You're genuinely saying, what's this about? What are you trying to get out of it? Who do you want to be when you're in there? And you're really, just like that suit that you're about to put on me, even this is bespoke for me.
Absolutely.
And I think that really makes a connection that tells them, almost at that first point of contact, yeah, this is different. And the bit that really struck me was, and I just like your commentary on it, because you must have seen a 1,000 of these, is when they've put the suit on and they come back to see the person that's interviewed them who hasn't seen them being dressed. And I was struck by the look of it. It's almost as if somebody put 5 Duracell batteries inside of them. They were beaming and they were just, oh my God, it was electric. There was almost pride. They wanted to say, look at me, I can't believe it. And I guess you've seen a lot of that. I guess it never gets tired.
It doesn't. And actually, Guy, I'm feeling quite emotional sat here listening to you, because we're in it day in and day out. But it's fantastic to hear it from somebody from the outside looking in as well. And just think, as you're talking, just thinking about some of the clients that we've seen and tears and the gratitude. It is incredible to see that transformation, because we care. We care about people. We care about people's lives, and we want to make a difference. One example comes to mind is we were supporting a gentleman. He brought his two, normally we don't have children come, but he couldn't find a sitter, so he had his two boys for the day, and I think they were 10, 11, 12. And so dad was an ex-offender, and on the day that he came to Suited for Success, he actually had a tag on his ankle. And so he came in tracksuit bottoms, trainers, t-shirt, that sort of thing, that sort of look. So we dressed him in a suit. His lads sat on the sofa really patiently waiting for dad, chatting away, reading magazines. When dad came out of the changing room, you should have seen the look on their faces, and I will never forget that look. And the look from dad saying, look at dad's going to now sort himself out. I'm changing my life. You can be proud of your dad. And the look on the faces of his young boys going, oh dad, we're so proud of you. We're so pleased. You look amazing. And that's within half an hour of dressing him in a suit and things and getting him suitable for work. And then him actually, not only his physical appearance to the boys and to me, that's it. I'm going to get my life sorted. I'm going to get my life back on track. I want to make my boys proud. I'm going to get myself a job. I'm going to be, an honest living now. It was just an incredible sight to see. That's what we're really about. And we see that day in, day out. And we can probably tell from me talking as well. We just love what we do. It really is changing lives.
I mean, I was privileged just to hear a couple of people's stories, and some of them had me just going, right, okay, I know I'm only going to be with you for a very short time, but I already care, and I really want to give of myself to enable that. So yeah, it's a genuine thing. And I think for a lot of people that are on the periphery of doing some sort of charity work, I think it's very easy to like a post on social media, right? To have an opinion from a distance. I have a sense that we're very, often very disconnected from anything that's not in our immediate space. So and I have been, there's no question about it. I have not had these points of contact. So it did reconnect me with an element of my humanity.
Yes.
That's important. I think that's something that I recognise in the contribution. You are able to, it's not do your bit, inverted commas, but you're able to reconnect with that human element of yourself to say, well, actually, I probably live a pretty privileged life. And in terms of problems, I've got first world problems here. The microwave broke, and can I get to Argos in time for dinner to get another one? Is not really an issue. And I think a lot of that really struck home. One of the things I've started to say to people is you don't have to dedicate yourself as a life's work. There are other people doing that. But I think there is an element of everybody did a little bit, it would make one heck of a difference.
Absolutely. So
what happens next for people? They go and have the interview, they get the job, or they potentially don't get the job. What's the follow-up services for somebody that have got my one suit, but that's the only thing in my wardrobe? What happens for them next in terms of if they land the job and any support that they might get moving forward?
Yeah, so I mean, when we originally set up, it was just about the clothing. It's about supporting people for interviews that will then take them into employment. So we give them a free suit and we do some free interview coaching. And that was kind of what we did in a nutshell. As we develop as a charity, we are noticing that people actually do need the additional support once they've got the job, especially for those people that have been unemployed for quite a long time. We can't expect people to go from 5 years of unemployment and straight into employment, and it'll be an easy and smooth transition. So as a charity, we're now looking at how we support people while they're in employment, especially within those first 3 months. There's the simple things like, well, who do I speak to about if I need to take my child to the doctors one morning, I can't get to work on time, or who do I talk to about holidays, or who do I talk to about travel expenses, and any maybe issues that they may have for the first few weeks in employment about talking to colleagues. colleagues in their team and things like that. And also, like you say, the financial side of things about buying new clothes for work and how do I now pay my own rent and my own bills and things, whereas before the government paid for all of that. And I think that's a gap at the moment. That's what's missing. So many people either look at that gap and go, I can't jump that gap. I'd rather stay in unemployment, stay on benefits, because that's too big a gap for me. Or people start to jump the gap, but then they fall through the gap because there's no support and no mechanism, no net to catch them. So Suited for Success is going to be stepping into that gap, and we're developing ways to do that. But yes, we do offer people support if they didn't get the job, so you can come back, have some more coaching. And we've recently had a lady who got a job during lockdown, which is a miracle, which is fantastic. And you took a few attempts, quite a few coaching sessions and confidence workshops and a CV update and things like that. But she got the job as a support worker for Trident Reach, who are a charity in Birmingham. So we're happy to keep working with people. They can have as many coaching sessions as they need. They can have as much advice, telephone, email, or even come in and have a chat with us over a cup of tea that they need to support them into employment. Some people, it will just be one coaching session, there you go, they've got the job. For other people, it will need a little bit more work to get to that point. So we do offer that as a service. Again, being more than just a suit.
Love that. Yeah, I think that also that sense of support and a sense of, they may not fully understand it when they walk through the door, but leaving knowing, oh, I can come back. I think that's a very powerful confidence. I think just to, I'm not in, almost I can even come back and tell them about it, which means maybe I'm not alone in this process as I walk off. I feel as if these people have got my back, kind of thing.
Absolutely, and that's because of the rapport that we built up once when we saw the client for their appointment. And it was only a 2-hour appointment, a 2-hour slot we saw them for, but then we showed such care and built up such a rapport that they feel they can come back. One other quick example I can give you. So somebody went for a job, they worked in the lab as a technician, got the job, but then he couldn't get any support from the job centre to help to cover his rent, to help with even things like lunch money, being able to buy lunch, like sandwiches and things at lunch, and also a pair of shoes and things like that. So he came to us absolutely desperate. He was in tears and he said, I can't get a break. I've got the job. I've successfully got through the interview, and now I'm struggling on the other side of that. He said, I don't want to go there looking like I'm poor. I have been poor and I have been living in poverty, and now I've got the opportunity to turn my life around, but I don't want to go there with people looking at me like my past. And so we were able to help him with work clothing. We were able to support him with a Tesco voucher where we could buy bread and sandwich fillings and things, and even buy him a bus pass. And that's all it took to help him jump that gap. Just things like that we're looking at developing to be able to support people once they've gained employment, which is the support that's missing.
So one thing you've also mentioned around military personnel to me, and you've mentioned that work that you're doing with people that are entering the world from maybe a long-term experience in another almost ecosystem. Some of them have found that transition difficult and are not in the best place. What work do you do then with those ex-forces and ex-services people?
Yeah, so our ex-forces work is an arm we've been developing over a number of years. There's 3 client groups that we do some bespoke work with, and we go the extra mile with. So the ex-forces, ex-offenders, and also back-to-work moms that experience particular challenges going into employment. So our work with the ex-forces has been incredible. We work with some incredible charities that already support ex-forces, the Poppy Factory, the Royal British Legion, Walking with the Wounded, SAFA, all of those charities we work with. So we don't do it in a silo, we actually work with others, and that's very much about what we're about. It's about creating a platform where we bring people together to work together in collaboration to make a difference. So our work with the ex-forces, we have ex-forces days where we have a corporate volunteer group that will spend the day with Suited for Success doing some coaching and a one-to-one mentoring session with our ex-forces clients, and those clients are referred to us for a variety of various ex-forces charities. They spend the day with us, having a look at their CVs, doing a little bit of coaching, some interview coaching, and then we also dress and style them for job interviews that they may have coming up. They may not have a guaranteed job interview coming up, but many of them are actively looking for employment. And one of the areas that we talked about and we look at supporting is that when you're in the forces, you don't have to go for a job interview. You don't have to create a CV. You just go for various roles, you get the role and then you're in it. But now when they've come out of the forces, there's all this creating a CV, filling out application forms and having an interview. And also the language that's used in the forces doesn't really translate into, they call it CV street. So they really struggle with the language barriers and how to communicate their skills and experience. And a lot of them have incredible skills and experience that they've gained while in the forces. We help them translate those skills and how to put themselves across in job interviews. And we've had some great success stories that you can read about on our Facebook page and our website and things of people, once they've come to our ex-forces days, they've then been successful in getting jobs. We've recently had somebody who, he was quite suicidal, and we hear those stories a lot. We had somebody call, a friend of his call and say, could you please help my friend? He's really struggling. He really thought he got this job. He had an interview a few days before, didn't get the job, and he was quite depressed. He came on our ex-forces day. He came in thinking, do you know what, I'm not sure what you're going to be able to do for me. He left that day. The next day, he got an invitation for a job interview, and within a few days got the interview and he got the job. And he was just, he couldn't believe it. He was like, I couldn't believe what had happened within a space of a few days from me being suicidal to me actually gaining employment. And we've got many, many stories like that.
And I think that's the power of it, isn't it? If people are thinking of how they may help or contribute, there might be obvious or less obvious ways. What would be of value to you? How would you want them to approach you? What is it that you might be looking for? What might you be looking for help with? This might be a great opportunity just to put that into the universe.
I mean, there's the obvious things like your suit donations, which we're always really grateful for, and volunteering with us as a regular volunteer and joining our team as a volunteer, or whether it's one-off volunteering. So it could be that you have a certain number of days as part of your role, your job, where you can go out and volunteer for a charity and you choose Suited for Success as that charity. So we see you a couple of times during that year. But I think what I would really love to put out there is that we would love people to invest in Suited for Success, whether it be financially, whether it be their skills and experience and their background that they personally have come from. After hearing this interview, if you think, gosh, I'd really love to get involved, but more than just volunteer or more than just donate a suit or two out of my wardrobe, I would love to have a conversation with you about that. We are looking for people to invest in what we do and to be part of a team of, whether you be a patron or an ambassador for Suited for Success, or sit as part of our board as well, to look at how can we be a little bit more scalable, how can we really show an impact on the work that we're doing, and help us with our strategic thinking. So it's not just about asking for money. Of course, money is important because we have to pay the bills like everybody, but we are looking for people to actually invest in us, to actually support us in a bigger way.
Well, I'll make sure that I put contact details at the end. I would definitely suggest that people go to suitedforsuccess.co.uk/client-makeovers. Client makeovers. Just the first couple of pictures suck you straight in. The before and afters, I'm just looking at them now with a massive smile over my face. You get it when you see how somebody's walked in. You've got the before and after, but inject 2 hours of effort here and look what's coming out at the other end. It's very, very powerful. So on that note, I'm going to bring us to a close. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you. So thank you for making the time on what seems to be becoming increasingly hotter days in the UK at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially when you lock yourself away for a quiet podcast and you shut all the windows. So I was yesterday, I was chasing a fly around the room the other day that seems to be able to fly in through a 1-inch gap but can't fly out through the door and the 2 windows that I've left open for it to get out of. So I'm losing my marbles. But and the last time we spoke, there were birds in the background as well. I was like, going, it's beautiful.
Really loud.
It's a beautiful thing, but we can't have them on the podcast, right?
No. Far too loud.
Far too loud. So on that note, I'm going to bring us to an end, and we'll just stay on the line and have a little chat afterwards. But thank you very much, Patricia.
Thank you, Guy.
So that was Patricia White, the CEO of Suited for Success. I find her hugely motivational, thoroughly engaging, and the cause is one that really is something that I can really engage with, and I hope you do too. You can contact Patricia at suitedforsuccess.co.uk. Visit the website. There's a real sense of clarity about what they're doing, and you can reach out to her on there. We have some other guests lined up as well. Paul Foreman, COO Formica, Kath Possamai, CEO Recruiting Group for the British Army, Major General Paul Nansen, Commandant of Sandhurst, and Dave Ulrich, the HR Guru, and others as well that are coming online. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, tell people about us, and promote the podcast as much as you can. That's my call to arms, because we're new, we're trying to get off the ground, and it's exciting times for us. Any thoughts or ideas or topics that you'd like me to cover, any suggestions of people that you think would be great for me to interview, let me know. On that note, it's been a pleasure, and see you on the next episode. Take care. That's it. Subscribe so you keep updated on new episodes. Visit livingbrave.com if you want to connect with us and find out more. This has been Leadership Bites. See you soon.